And welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. Today we've got a very, very special guest in our studio. Doug Lawrence is joining us. He's an internationally certified mentor and thought leader in the mentoring space. Doug is going to discuss his groundbreaking book, You Are Not Alone. It explores the critical role of mentoring in supporting mental health, especially those who are dealing with PTSD. So don't go away. Stay tuned for an enlightening and heartfelt conversation with Doug. We'll be right back with Writers' Corner live show.
Imagine a world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writers' Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works and join us as we celebrate literary greatness only on the Writers' Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writers' Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you have just joined us, then welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. If you're not yet following us on our social media channels, please do, and that way you'll get notified the next time we go live. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Bridgetti Lim Banda from Cape Town in South Africa, and in today's show we're going to be joined by Doug Lawrence. Our live stream is made possible by Creative Edge, StreamYard, and Be Live Media. So with that, a very warm welcome to you, the audience. Thanks for joining us. But before we introduce our amazing guest, Doug Lawrence, to you, I first want to say hello to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. Mary is a 5-time #1 Amazon best-selling author and a certified special needs and disabilities advocate. And she's dedicated to empowering underrepresented voices through her writing and her advocacy. She's also a speaker, educator, ghostwriter, songwriter. Mary, how are you today?
I am wonderful. And we're excited to have our friend Doug Lawrence back on. We've had him on several times, and we love his work and what he does, and what his representation and his passion is in life. So we are super excited to have him back on. We're doing well. Sun is shining. Your sun is setting. Well, it's going to set soon, right?
It has already set on this side of the pond.
Okay, yes. So we are
outside here in Cape Town.
Yeah, that's right. So we are, Bridgetti's in the future, I'm in the past, but we make it work, right?
We make it work. We make it work for sure. So for those of you who are joining us today, and if you're joining us for the very first time and you haven't yet met Doug Lawrence, he's an international certified mentor who holds 2 prestigious mentor certifications, the Certificate of Competence Mentor and also the Certificate of Competency Journey Mentor from the International Mentoring Community. Doug is also a former Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer and has dedicated his life to helping others overcome mental health challenges. Boy, we can never cover this topic enough, can we, Mary?
No, and there's definitely not enough time in the 30 minutes that we have, but we're going to cover as much as we can, share him with our audience, and hopefully he'll have some wonderful insights that people can look forward to and grab his book.
Absolutely. So let's give him a hearty warm welcome, shall we?
Hi,
Welcome, welcome.
it's been so long.
It has been a while, absolutely. And we love what your focus is. And I know before the show, I was telling you some stats here in the States and the state particularly that I live in, and how much we are failing our youth for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So this is a really great topic for us to be covering and to have a platform for you. So your focus is mental health support. What do you feel like? We're just going to jump right in because we don't want to waste any time. What are some common misconceptions about the role of mentoring in mental health support that you hope to dispel in your book?
One of the things that seems to stand out is that mentoring, for the most part, is kind of taken a back seat in a lot of places, in the organization and all of that. And so one of the biggest challenges we have is to get mentoring recognized and get people to embrace it as part of that support structure, to be able to help people go on their healing journey, and to be able to, the mentor is the person that's going to be, by your side. It's going to be standing beside your side. They're the ones that's going to go on that journey with you together. And we all need that person. I know when I think back to some of the situations I had to deal with, if I only had a mentor, it would have made a world of difference.
Yeah, that's I think you're 100% right in that. Just having somebody to literally hold your hand as you try and move or try and propel yourself forward would make a huge difference. Now, how is your experience in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police shaped your understanding of mental health challenges? And how did mentoring help you personally cope with PTSD?
Well, I guess the first thing is to just share with our listeners that I did have. It's kind of I'm still going through the process of dealing with post-traumatic stress as a result of my time in the police force. And I was involved in some very traumatic situations that I had to be able to figure out how I was going to deal with. And what was interesting and sad at the same time was the fact that back then, there was no support structure in place. Well, that's not true. There was a support structure in place, and it was a bottle of Scotch whiskey that after a traumatic event, I would come home, take the cap off the bottle, throw the cap in the garbage, and I would drink until I thought I'd solved the world's problems, when all I did was make them worse.
And unfortunately, I think there are too many people who can relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, whatever vice it is, food or binging, whatever it is, bless your heart. Well, I know that this journey that you're on has been such a catalyst to help you heal, because helping others helps us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a huge part of we're not supposed to go through it alone, and we're definitely not supposed to take our journeys and stuff and not, we're supposed to share them. So, on that subject, you what inspired you to write "You Are Not Alone," and what do you hope that readers are going to take away from this?
So the inspiration for "You Are Not Alone" actually came from people some colleagues, and I'm going to kind of back up a little bit. My first book that I did, which was The Gift of Mentoring, came as a result of a colleague of mine saying, you've written all these blog articles, why don't you take them and put them all together into a book? And so I did, and that was The Gift of Mentoring. And then along came some friends, some colleagues, and they said, there's definitely a need, in fact, an imperative need for you to write another book, and it needs to be focused on mentoring, but how mentoring can be part of the support structure for mental health. Because here's the dilemma that we're in, is that I go to see a psychologist today, And it could be 4 months before I get an appointment to go and see that psychologist. So what do I do in the interim? I have no one to turn to. I have to figure out how to navigate that. And I've worked with some people that the wait sometimes it's catastrophic for them, because they want to be able to continue their healing journey and they can't, because they have no one to, as you mentioned, hold their hand, or they've got no one that will listen and hear what they have to say. This is what I'm experiencing and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a huge part of the healing journey, and that's why I think there was such a great need for what you do, and because you do it exceptionally well. Because I think, I often say to people, not all doctors are equal.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and you need to find one that is truly skilled enough to help you out of wherever you are. And so, kudos to you for embarking on this journey. Can you share one example with us of how mentoring has or can support someone's mental health journey, and what makes it an effective method?
So I'm going to take us back to when I was still in the police force, and I ended up. We had a young lad, 16 years of age thereabouts, who ended up. We were putting a hockey team together in this small rural community, and we put this hockey team together, and he was very blessed in that he got accepted or selected to play on the men's hockey team. So we were going to go down the road and we were going to play against the neighboring community. So he goes home after being selected. He goes home to tell his parents what's going to, how happy he was over the fact that he'd been selected and that. And of course, his parents were under the influence of alcohol and were not in a state of mind that they could even provide him the support that he wanted. So he went to the bedroom and got out one of the rifles and he took his own life. And so small community, with the police force, a lot of times you walk beside, residents in the community, and then the next day you end up having to deal with their loss of life and that. And that was what happened to me, was that I ended up having to deal with his suicide. I ended up having to transport his body to the closest morgue, which was 8 hours by vehicle in 40 below weather, and had to transport him, to that location for them to do what they had to do. And then I had to drive back home. And when I got home, I ended up, same sort of thing, was I'm going to turn to that bottle of scotch because that's going to solve how I'm feeling, make me feel better, when in fact, all it did was it made the wounds that much deeper. And I had to figure out how am I going to deal with that? So to specifically answer your question or the example, there was a time right there where if they would have had a counselor or somebody like that who was professionally trained that could have come to my place, to my residence, and or said, come to the office and let's talk our way through that. I didn't have that. And if I would have, things would have been differently, would have been a whole lot different. And it would have been such that, I wouldn't have seen, what I saw what was taking place with myself was the slow erosion of behavioral characteristics. I would become somewhat verbally violent and stuff like that as a result of that, because my willingness to continue the healing journey was becoming less and less because there was no support being provided.
Doug, I'm so sorry. We are so sorry for that family and for you going through all that. Thank you for being so candid with us today and bearing and sharing things that you've been through. I think this is really important for others to hear out there who are going through something similar and feel like maybe there's no hope. There is hope, but we have to get more hope and help out there for folks everywhere. It's so important right now. How do you think mentoring can be integrated, into existing mental health support structures? I know we're kind of following right into these questions, which is wonderful. What benefits do you see to this approach?
When I take a look, I'm doing some work right now with an organization, and we're talking about doing peer support. And I see the mentor as being somebody who fits into that broad definition of peer support more than anything else. And I just think that what needs to be in place is those mentors, that the people that are in between that 4 to 6 month time period where they're waiting for their next appointment, to be able to have that person that they can actually turn to and say, I'm really struggling here. I need your help. And one of the things that makes it difficult, or even more difficult, is the stigmatism of mental health, and how people, if you ask for help, people then think that there's something wrong with you, when in fact, it's just that you need somebody that you can reach out to and ask for help, and know that they're going to turn around and say, I am here for you. Let me be of service to you.
So if can we do a bit of role playing here? Say, I'm sitting across the desk from you, and I'm saying, I'm really struggling with a challenge. What would you want? What would you say to me typically when I come to you for help? Where would you start?
I would basically start is that, I'm sorry to hear that you're struggling. Can we have a conversation to talk a little bit more about what that's like for you? And it will help me to be able to walk just that much closer with you as we continue on your healing journey.
I like that you're saying walking with the person, because there's a difference when you're walking ahead of someone or you're walking behind them, but walking alongside that person, I think is the key difference there. It makes a huge difference. It's like a husband and wife, where the husband or the wife is running ahead and the other one's behind. It doesn't quite work. But when you walk alongside each other, it's a very different thing. And that could be metaphorically or, whatever. But just having somebody beside you makes a huge difference.
And I'm not sure if we picked up on it or not, but I use we and us a lot rather than you, because I don't want to stick you on the island by yourself, as I sometimes refer to it. I want to make sure that we're on this journey together. And excuse me, we're going to battle the demons together, so to speak. But the big thing here is it's the use of the pronouns we and us to sort of make it more of a collaborative effort on the part of both of us to move forward.
Yeah, and it's also disarming, so that it may feel less threatening, because it's very hard for people to talk about and even admit when they need help or what they need help about. Sometimes they don't even know until you get into the conversation, and probably, pick those layers off, the onion layers, to figure out what it is. How has your certification as a mentor influenced your approach to supporting others? And what do you believe sets your approach apart from other people out there doing similar work?
I don't know of too many that are doing similar work as a mentor, but and if I miss a couple of responses, just please refresh my memory. So, but for me, the mentoring certification sends a message. And actually, to take us back a little bit, when I was actually being interviewed for, and that's kind of the unique part, but I was being interviewed by an organization to come in and do some work with or for them. And one of the things that actually helped seal the deal, so to speak, was the fact that I had a certification in mentoring. And that seemed to make a difference to them as well. And so for me, what it does is it becomes a credibility thing. So it helps me with my credibility when I talk to other people. But what it also does is, in order to become certified, I had to understand the different processes and stuff that is required to go through the certification process. And what it's done is it's allowed me or put me in a place where I can create a deeper, richer mentoring experience because of the training and that I've gone through. You know, we can definitely go out there and mentor it to the best of our ability, but when you've gone through that certification process and you're now accountable for delivering a best practice, it kind of changes the landscape a little bit and makes it a little bit more that way. My biggest challenge, or one of my biggest challenges, is to find additional people that are willing to do some training on how to actually work in the mental health space, in order to, because one person can make a difference, but it's a very small difference.
Wow, you're right. I think the credibility is a big thing, because not, just having that certification, as you said, does give you a huge leverage above the other mentors. Now, something that I think still hangs around a lot, unfortunately, is societal stigma around mental health. How do you think that this stigma that unfortunately still hangs around in the air can be addressed through mentoring and having open conversations?
Well, I think what you've touched on, sort of the answer to the question, which is, having those conversations, which is really, that's the big thing, is let's have a conversation. So the stigmatism is that, somebody who asks for help is, there's something wrong with them, like I mentioned earlier. And so what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to demonstrate that it's not so much that there's something wrong with them, but there's, they're going through, it's like getting a cold or like getting the flu to some respects. You need to be able to work your way through that, get the rest you need. And so when I'm working with people that say, I'll give you an example with a young entrepreneur. My very first meeting was virtual with that individual, and I felt something was off, that something wasn't quite right. And so I shared my own personal lived experience with that entrepreneur. And at the end, the entrepreneur turned and looked at me and said, "You just shared something that I didn't expect." And I said, "Yes, I know, but I wanted you to know a little bit about me." And it ended up that individual had 4 different mental health challenges that they were dealing with, and it was impacting their ability to continue to grow their business. And so we actually had virtual conversations where we talked our way through each and every one of those situations. And what are some of the coping mechanisms that we can put into place to help deal with some of that? What are some of the things that I can do as your mentor to help support you? And be part of your journey and things like that. So, and it's turned out that, as a result of that, well, number one, this individual said, "Am I ever glad I got you as a mentor?" And number two is that we're still continuing to grow. There's still lots of growth that needs to take place, and as long as we're cognizant of what the mental health or the mental health issues, what that can do to that growth, as long as we know that, we're still going to be able to move forward.
Yes, absolutely. And you've touched on so many things that I think are so important today, and we're so grateful that you have talked about all of this with us. We'd love to know what is next for you in your mentoring journey, and how do you see your work evolving to support mental health initiatives moving forward?
So we have, You Are Not Alone, and I'm working on my next book. So it's in the editing phase with the manuscript and that. So we'll see how that one evolves and that. It's definitely a deeper dive into the whole mental health, mentoring, grief and that. And that seems to be where I'm being guided or pushed, for lack of a better choice of words, is now I'm focusing on the grief side of things quite a bit. So, because I lost my wife in 2021 to cancer, and so I've been dealing with grief and helping others as they try to deal with grief. So I'm part of two or three bereavement support groups, and we have those conversations and we openly share and talk about, well, today I had a tough day. Today I went to the grocery store and I broke down and cried in the grocery store, and I shouldn't do that. And yes, you should do that, because that's all part of the healing process. So lots of things like that that are taking place. And for me, it's number one to get the message out there that there is a place in the support structure for mental health, for mentoring. Mentoring can and will play an important role as we go forward in helping individuals with their healing journey. And I think the sooner we get to having that conversation, the sooner that we're going to be able to help people that are struggling today.
Yeah,
Thank you
amen.
so much. We're just about out of time, but I want to ask you if you can very quickly hold up your cover of your book and just tell us about it, because it's a very interesting cover. Just explain what's going on in that cover real quick.
I sometimes have to ask myself, but the big idea behind it is you have the man on the cover, and he has choices. He can go one direction where there's more light, so it's the green grass and all of that, and that's his decision, or his choice is more of a positive in nature, a more positive journey that he needs to go on. And if he takes the other fork in the road, it's a little grayer. It's there's no grass. Even the brush up in this corner is brown. So it's a matter of, you are not alone. You have choices you can make, which are going to help you and benefit you as much as they possibly can. So that's kind of that. And of course, I kind of snuck in the Amazon bestseller and Global Book Award certificate. I kind of slipped that in there where.
That's good for you. Good for you. That you need that on there because it helps to sell the book. We really want to thank everyone who's listened today and watching today, our friends on Instagram and all the platforms we have up today. We're so grateful you're here. And go get a copy of Doug's book. I mean, he is really out there, and he's a friend of ours. We know that he's doing the work that he's saying, trying to help others in the mental health arena and just make things better. So thank you, Doug, for all your work. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And we want you back when the next book is out.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, so amazing audience. And thank you so much, Doug. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on the Writer's Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writer's Corner live show.